Bitcoin just shot up from 76K to 90K in just 1 week. Sounds amazing, right? But wait, before you jump in, price jumps like this can be a roller coaster. Bitcoin can fall just as fast as it rises. Don't get caught up in the hype. Make sure you're investing only what you can afford to lose and have a plan for both wins and losses. Let's take a quick deep dive into the risks you need to know. Ready to learn more? Let's break down what you really need to understand.
Okay, so Bitcoin. It's been all over the news lately, right?
Absolutely.
Price is going crazy, and I bet you're probably wondering what's really going on. So today we are going to do a deep dive into Bitcoin.
Awesome.
And we're going to look at it like, you've got to figure out the rules of a game before you start playing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
We're going to give you the knowledge you need so you don't get caught up in all the hype and you can make some good decisions.
It's really important to understand the fundamentals.
Exactly. So let's get down to the basics.
Okay.
We found some interesting sources that explain what Bitcoin actually is. One of them describes it in a really simple way. They say it's basically money that lives on the internet. So no physical coins or bills or anything like that.
Makes sense.
It's all digital. But then how is that different than using a credit card online or something like that?
That's a great question. And the key difference here is something called decentralization.
Decentralization.
Yeah. So think about it with traditional currencies. You've got central banks, governments controlling the whole system, right?
Yeah.
Bitcoin, on the other hand, operates on this technology called the blockchain.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a giant public ledger where every single transaction is recorded. And it's not maintained by a single entity like a bank. It's maintained by a network of computers all around the world.
Oh, wow. So it's like a global, transparent record-keeping system
Exactly.
that no one can really manipulate.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's where that idea comes from about it being censorship resistant.
Exactly. Because no single authority controls Bitcoin. It's really difficult for governments or financial institutions to censor transactions or freeze accounts. And this has made it particularly appealing in countries with unstable currencies or limited access to traditional banking.
Right. Makes sense. I can see how that would be appealing in those situations.
Yeah.
But okay, let's be real for a second. Let's talk about, the elephant in the room, the prices all over the place.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We're seeing these huge swings up and down.
Huge.
And our sources are saying that's kind of what's driving a lot of the interest. Maybe even, FOMO.
That fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out, exactly.
Yeah.
How should we think about that as we're learning about Bitcoin?
You've hit on a really crucial point because volatility is just part of Bitcoin.
Okay.
It's part of any investment, really. And while the potential for these big gains is super alluring, it's equally important to remember that the value can drop just as dramatically.
Oh, yeah.
One of the sources we looked at really emphasizes starting small.
Okay.
And only using what they call extra money.
Extra money.
Funds that you are comfortable potentially losing.
Okay, so maybe don't put your rent money in there.
Probably not a good idea.
Joking aside, it sounds like risk management is a pretty key takeaway.
Absolutely. It's about making informed choices, not emotional ones driven by hype or, FOMO.
Right. That makes sense. But I do want to shift gears a little bit because our sources also talk about why Bitcoin's value might keep going up. And one thing they mentioned was the limited supply.
Right.
Like there will only ever be
21 million.
21 million Bitcoins.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
So that scarcity combined with more and more people wanting it, that could really push the price up.
Yeah, it's a similar concept to precious metals like gold.
Okay.
That limited supply makes it inherently valuable. Additionally, we're seeing growing global adoption.
Oh, really?
More businesses are starting to accept Bitcoin as payment, and even some countries like El Salvador are adopting it as legal tender.
It's almost like we're seeing like a change in how people think about money.
It really is fascinating.
But I'm also wondering about like the other side of the coin, like what are some of the challenges or potential downsides?
That's an important question, and one of the biggest concerns
Yeah.
is the environmental impact of Bitcoin mining.
Oh, right. I've heard about that.
Yeah, it requires a ton of energy. There's also regulatory uncertainty and security risks that are important to consider.
So it's a pretty complex situation with benefits and drawbacks.
It definitely is.
Seems like there's a lot to think about.
Yeah, and that's why this deep dive is so important. It's about arming you with the knowledge to navigate this world, understand the risks, and make informed decisions.
Yeah.
And maybe, as you learn more about this, ask yourself, if Bitcoin really represents a fundamental shift in how we think about money, what other changes might this lead to in the future?
That's a really good question.
It's definitely something to think about.
A lot to ponder on your Bitcoin journey.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me.